Greetings everyone. Today we're taking a deep dive into the world of 7 Days to Die. This is an iceberg type of video, which means we're gonna go deeper into the iceberg, moving from known facts to the more obscure secrets and theories about the game. So whether you're listening in the background, trying to sleep, or whatever you prefer, please get comfortable, sit back, and let me take you on a deep dive into the mysterious world of 7 Days to Die. Starting off the iceberg with explaining the game itself. 7 Days to Die. 7 Days to Die is a post-apocalyptic sandbox zombie game that combines several different genres, primarily first-person shooter, survival horror, tower defense, and role-playing. Released by the Fun Pimps in 2013, it was one of the earliest pioneers of the survival genre. The core experience is focused on surviving both the world's harsh elements and the crazed feral zombie infestation within a massive, fully destructible voxel world. This unique environment allows you as a player to build and modify structures block by block, turning ruined buildings or custom creations into elaborate trap-filled fortresses. It's a game that demands constant alertness, whether you're out scavenging for supplies, fortifying your base, or fighting off the massive reoccurring Blood Moon Horde that attacks every 7 days. Moving on to Navesgane. Navesgane County, Arizona is the original handcrafted map of 7 Days to Die. It's set in the harsh, unforgiving world of 7 Days to Die. But unlike the random generated world, every town, road, and landmark here was placed with purpose. It feels lived in, like a place that has a history waiting to be discovered. Its towns, Parishton, Deersville, Gravestown, and Departure might seem familiar at first, but if you look closer, the map is full of abandoned places that whisper of a world gone wrong. Burnt forests, empty cabins, and old military bunkers hint at an outbreak that happened long before the players arrived. Some roads just end, bridges crumble over dry canyons, and if you dig deep enough, hidden tunnels appearing with loot, strange notes, and surprises. Navesgane isn't just a map, it's a piece of a story. Every corner feels like it has a secret. The echo of footsteps in an empty town, the ruins of a failed quarantine, or a cabin in the forest with cryptic notes about the infection. It makes you feel like you're stepping into a place that's both familiar and unsettling. A world where every landmark has a reason, and every shadow could be hiding something. And then there's the name, Navesgane. It comes from the Apache language and means killer of monsters, deriving from the Native American tribe. It's a chilling reminder of the horrors that swept through Arizona long before you arrived, and of the dangers that are still waiting in the ruins. Zombies. Zombies in 7 Days to Die are your most significant threat. Understanding how they behave and their different types is important for survival. During the days, most zombies are slow-moving and stupid. They generally wander aimlessly unless you trigger them by a sound or a noise. They're easier to manage, but they can however become dangerous if you're trapped with them in an enclosed area. Zombies start becoming a real threat at night. At night they become runners sprinting at high speeds. On the Nomad difficulty, 2 of them might mean the end of your demise. There are some exceptions though. Some zombies spawn with feral sense. These walkers have heightened senses and detect you easier even if you're stealthed. They sprint at full speed regardless of the time of the day, which is pretty terrifying seeing it in action. Without going too deep into the different types, there are tough zombies, the ones that are tanky and heavy hitting type, and then you have radiated, charged, and infernal. These zombies have a way higher HP than the normal zombies, and they also have a significant ability that regenerates health up to 2.5 HP per second. The Blood Moon. The sky darkens into a crimson red and you hear screams far away. Every 7 days, a relentless zombie horde attacks your location or base with everything that they've got. And they all have the feral sense, meaning stealth and hiding will not help you in this case. The only thing that will help is having a well-prepared base with traps and you having a lot of ammo to fend them off. It starts like a normal night at 10 o'clock and ends at 4 o'clock in the morning. Traders. Traders are locations where you can buy and sell items for Duke Casino tokens. All traders are open from 4:05 to 21:50. They offer various items depending on their specialty. They restock every 3 days, as shown in the interface while talking to them. Approaching a trader's compound will automatically add their location to the map with their name. These structures and their surroundings are indestructible, keeping both players and zombies out. However, you can loot containers. The compound cannot be used as the base of the player, nor can the player destroy or add any blocks. The Apocalypse. Now diving into Tier 2, we start with the Apocalypse and the reason for the outbreak. Now there isn't much concrete evidence on why everything started or how, and who's behind it, but there are some facts that we can start from. Now according to the official 7 Days to Die wiki, it goes like this. In the near future, the Third World War leaves the Earth in ruins, but the worst was yet to come. In the year 2013, nuclear attacks have decimated the Earth and the remaining population is infected by an unknown virus. Nobody knows for sure the radiation, the biochemical weapons, or an act of God, but an unknown virus soon transforms the surviving humans into the army of the animated dead, acting as a single-minded being. Now if we look in-game, we do find some clues, however. Newspaper clippings showing clearly that there was a widespread flu epidemic that plagued the world. Now we do not know how far it spread, if it's only in America or only Arizona, but we also see in-game, like the wiki explained, that there is evidence of a nuclear war happening in the game. We do not know if this was the cause. We will, however, dive deeper into different theories about what caused the virus later in the Iceberg, so make sure to stick to the end. Infected animals. The zombie apocalypse in 7 Days to Die did not spare the animal kingdom. While some creatures like chickens, deers, and regular rabbits remain sources of uninfected meat and hides, many others have succumbed to the plague, becoming dangerous feral threats. The infection transforms these animals into aggressive, fast-moving enemies. Unlike human zombies, these infected beasts are always runners, attacking with savage speed and often dealing significant bleed or trauma damage. Some examples of these animals are the zombie wolf, the zombie bear, and the infected zombie dog. Now, the exact cause of the infection spread to the animal kingdom is left a mystery, but the game maintains a crucial distinction. We see that smaller and naturally less aggressive creatures remain untouched, providing essential resources. But the game maintains a clear distinction. Animals like we mentioned earlier that haven't been infected are all herbivores, meaning that they only eat plants, and it seems like the only animals that caught the virus are carnivores, or at least part carnivores. Could it be that there wasn't any food to go around and everything started to become scarce, so animals started feeding on humans, or what was left of them at least? Difficulty. When you start a new world, you choose from 6 settings, ranging from scavenger to insane. This setting primarily acts as a direct multiplier on combat, affecting the game's damage formula. On higher difficulties, zombies deal substantially more damage to the player. On insane, zombies can deal up to 250% of their base damage. Conversely, the player's damage output is reduced. On insane, your weapons may only deal 50% of their normal damage to zombies. In essence, the fixed difficulty level makes all the zombies hit harder and turn into a greater damage sponges, forcing you to rely on better gear and more strategic combat. Game stage. The game stage in 7 Days to Die is the secret difficulty number. It keeps the game balanced just for you. This number decides which types of zombies you will fight. A low game stage means easier zombies, and a high one means you face a strong, fast, and glowing infected during regular days and on Horde nights. The game stage changes based on how you're doing. If you're having a hard time and dying often, the game stage does go down. If you're surviving many days in a row, the game stage goes up and the game gets harder. Your character's level also matters, but your recent survival matters more. It ensures that the world always feels challenging but fair. Moving on to Tier 3, we have the Duke of Navezgane. His presence is everywhere. We see it in the coins we use, and we feel it immediately at the start of every world. One of the first things that you find is a note from him, reminding you of the kind of power that he holds. time, every time, or there will be consequences. Next time we won't be so nice. Thanks for the gear, but you still owe us. See you soon. The Duke. The word Duke itself refers to someone of high status or rulership, and the Duke of Navezgane appears to be exactly that. Noah, the man trying to help you in the beginning of the game, also leaves you a message. He says that you've crossed paths with the Duke and that you were found naked, left for dead, and without supplies. The Duke is a highly mysterious figure, and one of the few and first confirmed images of him comes from an old Fun Pimps trailer. In that trailer, the developers mentioned that the Duke commands an army of the mutated soldiers. Now this raises the question, did he start the spread of the virus, or did he discover a way to control the infected? We don't have a clear answer yet, but the implication is sure is unsettling. There may be also an actual image of him hidden in the game files. A painting called Painting Duke appears in many POIs around the world. It is not confirmed whether this is truly the Duke or just a placeholder name chosen by the developers. However, looking deep into the subject, we found even more clues. In a Twitter post from the Funpimps showcasing new decals added in Alpha 22, we get the most detailed information yet. Duke H. Casador, 43, proprietor and owner of the Casador Casino. The accompanying article gives further insight. It says that the Duke Casador publicly made his voice known during the growing pandemic. In comments directed at the mayor during a community outreach event, he insisted that it was imperative to close the borders immediately to prevent further contamination. He also stated, "My casino will not fall, and I personally will not tolerate the destruction of the safe either, if you insist on careless action." Even before the pandemic, the Duke clearly had held influence, wealth, and authority. He wasn't just a background figure, he was someone with political and economic power in Navesgane, and now after the world has fallen apart, it's possible that his influence has only grown stronger. Shamway Foods. This company was a massive food manufacturer, and like Passing Gas or Crack-a-Book, its remnants, the POIs, the crates, and the food itself were everywhere. Shamway never really hid its questionable quality, even using the slogan, #1 maker of meat-like products. Meat-like products. What do they actually mean by that? This might tell you how much meat you weren't actually eating. And the real letdown, however, comes when you look at the craftable recipe of the can of Sham. Its ingredients include rotten flesh. This isn't just a quirky detail. This heavily implies a darker reality. Shamway was so corrupt and focused on cutting costs that they were distributing contaminated, spoiled, or even deceased materials into the food chain supply. The other truly dark implication is that Shamway wasn't just negligent. Their willingness to incorporate this diseased and rotten flesh into their mass-produced foods may have been a primary vector or at least a contributing factor that helped spread the initial disease, effectively feeding the public the very plague that created the zombies. Grace. Grace is a giant zombified and mutated boar found at Bob's Boars and Call of Scorn. She is not in the main farm, but rather in a hidden cave concealed beneath her cage in the backyard. A cage marked clearly with her name. Grace is a formidable opponent. She has a large health pool, placing her size and durability between that of a standard bear and a zombie bear. Her strength is evident in her surroundings. Her cave and the paths leading to it are littered with corpses and skeletal remains, suggesting she has killed numerous humans. Interestingly, this farm also contains samples of supercorn. It is possible that Grape's immense mutation is linked to her consumption of this unusual plant. Although she is a zombified animal, Grace is classified as a zombie for quest purposes, meaning she must be killed to successfully complete a clear zombie mission at this location. Now heading deeper and deeper into the Iceberg, we start talking about some game mechanics that not a lot of people know. Smelling zombies. In past versions of 7 Days to Die, zombies possessed a rudimentary sense of smell as part of their tracking system. This mechanic was tied to player actions and items. For instance, carrying raw meat, especially meat from hunting, could increase your character's scent level. If a zombie came within the range, it could detect the scent, making the player easier to locate and track, even through buildings. This mechanic encouraged players to carefully manage their inventory, as carrying certain resources could increase the immediate danger. However, over time the developers simplified zombie tracking. The primary mechanics now rely heavily on sight and noise. It's called the heat map system. Personally, however, I think the developers should have evolved a little bit more on this type of behavior, as I think it adds realism to this game. The heat map. The heat map in the game is an invisible meter that tracks the amount of noise and an activity a player creates in the area. Simply put, loud actions like firing guns, using chainsaws, or running crafting stations like the forge add heat to your location. If the heat gets too high, two things happen. A screamer zombie might spawn. If she sees you, she screams and summons a large horde directly to your position. 2. A wandering horde become more likely to path towards your noisy base. The heat map forces you to manage your noise. The louder you are, the faster the zombies find you. The Screamer. The Screamer is one of the most unsettling infected in 7 Days to Die. She's a thin, ghost-like woman with pale skin, long tangled hair, and a tattered white gown. Her movements are twitchy, almost unnatural, and her piercing scream can draw zombies to her location, quickly turning a quiet area into chaos. Some players believe that the Screamers were once lab workers or scientists studying the virus. Their screams may have been used in early experiments to control or direct infected subjects. When containment failed, the mutation amplified their voices, turning them into living beacons for the Horde. It's even possible that Screamers played a role in accelerating the outbreak, helping the infection spread faster than anyone expected. Whether they were victims of their own experiments or tragic early casualties of the virus, Screamers remain one of the most eerie and mysterious special infected roaming the wasteland. The Hornet. The Hornet is an enemy that was in 7 Days to Die a long time ago in the early alpha versions. Most of the new players have not heard about it nor seen it. It was the first flying enemy in the game, appearing in dangerous areas like the wasteland. The Hornet was very fast and flew in erratic ways, so it could easily fly past your defenses and walls. Its sting was dangerous because it often caused bleeding and infection. However, the Hornet was eventually removed from the game for two main reasons. Technical issues, like the AI's hitbox, were unstable, leading to constant bugs and frustrating, inconsistent combat. The second reason was thematic choices. The developers opted for a more thematically appropriate creature for the world setting. The giant infected insect was replaced by the vulture, which was seemed a better fit for the atmosphere of a decaying world. With the previous levels explored, it's now time to move to the final tier of the iceberg, where the most obscure and unsettling topics and theories reside. And just like I promised before, we will be getting into reasons for the outbreak and theories about it. If you made it this far, I really want to thank you, and I want to make sure to remind you to please subscribe, like the video, and comment, only if you truly enjoyed the video. Now, let's move on. The Hiagashi theory. The most compelling explanation for the outbreak points directly to Hiagashi Pharmaceuticals and the reckless ambitions of its CEO, Dr. Karen Hiagashi. Hiagashi's headquarters and Dr. Hiagashi's private laboratory are ground zero. These locations are riddled with evidence of dangerous genetic engineering, including chemical labs, DNA testing facilities, and human trials involving experimental undead subjects in containment tubes. The company was likely responsible for creating the zombie virus through careless experimentation. Alternatively, their work might have been an attempt to develop a retroviral cure that just backfired. The virus, possibly engineered to be airborne, first appeared as a severe flu epidemic, which allowed it to spread unchecked before its true nature was understood. A company called Poppin' Pills, likely a front for Hiagashi, attempted a large-scale intervention by distributing an antiviral agent known as Z-Side. This effort to contain the infection failed completely. Recognizing the crisis was irreversible, the military established roadblocks in a desperate last-ditch attempt to evacuate any uninfected civilians from the region. When the local epidemic became an international threat, the government resorted to extreme measures, taking us to the next and final point in our iceberg: nuclear detonation. On Sunday, January 13th, 2034, the headline tells us the story of the collapse: nuclear detonation. The death toll from the epidemic had already reached hundreds of millions worldwide. Authorities, unable to effectively contain the spread, had watched the infected roam across the globe. From major urban cities to rural communities, the streets were overwhelmed. Many were already calling it the end times. This was not a localized event, this was a complete global downfall. In response to that, the President of the United States at the time issued an emergency protocol. In a desperate last-ditch attempt to contain the escalating virus spread, the President ordered nuclear weapons launched into major population centers. The words are chilling. May God forgive us. Millions of innocent people were evacuated, but millions more still died in the resulting blast radius. This action, taken under extreme duress, was not meant to destroy humanity, but to create a buffer zone, an irradiated containment to prevent the virus from spreading further. As the fallout settled, martial law was declared across the country, with locations like Navesgane becoming isolated military communities. The government and military were overwhelmed, fighting back to hold the relentless tide of the infected. This could easily explain why Navesgane got the name Monster Killer, but the real question is left hanging in the wreckage. Why? Despite citizens' demand for an explanation, none was provided by the government. The official response was only political rhetoric. The origins of the virus and true facts about the mysterious outbreak remain to this day unclassified and officially unknown. Now that's the end of our journey down the 7 Days to Die iceberg. We've covered everything from the blood moon to the grim truth of the nuclear aftermath. I want to hear your take. Which theory do you believe is the absolute canon cause of the apocalypse? Drop a comment, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, be sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives into gaming lore. Thanks for watching.